When I pulled up to my parents' house, the new red car looked like it belonged in a movie. While Lauren spun around the car and squealed like she just won the lottery, I gripped the steering wheel so tightly that my fingers turned white. She might have used my money to do that. Hi, my name is Jacqueline. I just saw my sister take away the future I worked so hard for. Isn't she beautiful? Lauren asked as she ran her newly manicured nails over the hood of the car. I got a great deal. The seller gave it to me pretty much. After a 10-hour shift at the bank, I got out of my plain BMW, while still wearing my work clothes. It was likely another alert that my bank account was overdrawn when my phone buzzed again. I wasn't responding to those texts because I thought there was a mistake. I tried to stay calm and said, "Lauren, how did you get the money?" The way she styled her hair made it look just like her mom's. No, don't start the talk. My parents helped me figure it out. Okay, guys? Behind her, our parents stood with champagne glasses in their hands and smiled. That's what my mom said. It said, "Please don't ruin the mood. She needed a reliable car, sweetheart." Mom walked over and spoke to him. "We just used the family disaster fund you set up." My heart stopped. That was not a fund for emergencies. That was the down payment on my house. $50,000. Everything I kept. She rolled her eyes and said, "Don't be so dramatic. You know how to handle money well. You'll keep it again. You always put your family first." I pulled out my phone and showed her my bank balance. "Family comes first," I told her. "You gave me $150. You didn't even ask me." Dad blew his nose. "Jacqueline, your sister is going to be interviewing for jobs soon. To look good, she needs to do something." I laughed very hard. "How many interviews?" "The ones she didn't finish her degrees, or the 3 jobs she quit this year." "It's not fair." Lauren started crying right in front of Q. She cried, "Mom, she's being mean." Mom quickly put her arms around her. "Call Jacqueline, please. You should know that your sister has been having a rough time. We need to help her. You've always been strong. The strong one. The one who is responsible. The one who hid things, paid the bills, and made everything work. That's what I did for years." I helped Lauren get ready for school when I was 14 years old, while my mom slept off another headache. Just as I pulled out my phone, I said, "You're right. I'm the strong one." Mom gave a smile. "I knew you'd get it. And my name is on all of the family bank accounts," I said as I called the bank. "I'm also the one who's been paying off Dad's credit cards since he retired early. The one who used her savings to back up your emergency loan." Dad stopped drinking champagne, and his mouth was half full. "What do you have planned?" "Hello, this is Jacqueline Maddow," I said into the phone. "I understand that closing account number 556148 will affect other accounts, and that's what I want." Jacqueline stopped. Mom tried to take my phone, but I told her, "You can't do this. It's my money." Lauren yelled at me as I walked to my car. "You're just jealous that Mom and Dad love me more and that I'm living my best life while you're stuck being boring." I stopped my hand on the door of my car. You know what's funny about karma, Lauren? It doesn't always wait." "What does that mean?" she snapped. I smiled as I got into my car. "You'll see in about 96 hours, give or take," I said. "When those credit cards stop working." In the rearview mirror, I saw my dad making a lot of calls while my mom hugged Rachel, who was crying. The family picture on their wall looked just like the picture I bought for them last Christmas, with Mom and Dad on either side of their favorite daughter. But now I don't have to. I pulled over a few blocks away, my hands still shaking, and called someone else. "Scott, it's me. Remember when you told me to stop helping them? Well, I finally did something big." He picked up right away. It was time. "Would you like to get a drink and tell me everything?" I looked back at my parents' house. Lauren's brand new car was still in the driveway, shining in the sun. "Yes," I said. "And bring your laptop. We'll need it." As I drove away, the sun went down behind me. I was done being their backup plan. It was about to fall. They say revenge is best served cold, but I was just getting started. "For days," Scott said, sliding his laptop across the bar. "That's how long it takes for the system to close the accounts and start the chain reaction." I stared into my gin and tonic, listening to the ice crackle softly. I moved my drink slowly in my hand and said, "They've called 25 times since yesterday." I stopped counting the texts. "Let me see," Scott said, scrolling through my phone and reading some messages out loud. "Jacqueline, please call us right away. It's an emergency. Your sister is crying herself sick." Scott said, "Oh, that's rich. Did they really raise me better?" I asked, taking a second sip. "You know what I remember from growing up? Making Lauren's lunch while Mom was lying down. Helping Dad with the checkbook when I was 14 because he couldn't figure out why the account was always empty. Being told I couldn't go to the college I wanted because Lauren needed braces." Now, Scott quickly typed on his laptop, "They took your down payment." He then said, "Look at this. They've been taking money from your linked accounts for years. It's only $130 here and $60 there, but it adds up." I could see the long list of transactions growing on a screen, even though the bar lights were dim. I told them they were wrong because I had never noticed before. My phone rang again, and Mom's name showed up on the screen. Scott told me to answer it because they needed to know this wasn't a game anymore. I took a deep breath and picked up the phone. "Hello, Jacqueline," Mom said. Her voice was shaking. The bank had called. "It sounds like credit lines were cut off and accounts were frozen. What did you do?" "I did exactly what I said I would do. I closed my accounts. But your dad's credit cards don't work, and we need to pay our bills. Lauren needs. I cut her off. "What about what I need, Mom? Like the house I've been saving for since I was 24. "We didn't steal," she yelled. "We borrowed money, and we'll pay you back." I laughed and asked, "Will you?" Because I checked my dad's credit report and saw that I'm still listed as an authorized user. He has 7 credit cards with maximum balances, and I've been making the minimum payments on them for 3 years. There was silence. Then she said in a whisper, "Jacqueline, come over." "Sure," I said, finishing my drink. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. Scott raised an eyebrow. "Are you going?" "They need to see my face," I said as I grabbed my bag. "Are you coming when their world finally falls apart?" 20 minutes later, I walked into my parents' living room. Dad was pacing near the window with the phone to his ear. "The bank won't move," he said as he hung up. "They're calling in all the credit lines by Sunday." He said something about UNL collateral. "That would be my savings account," I said, crossing my legs and sitting down. "What a joke. They're telling me I could lose the car. Do you know how embarrassing that would be? Almost as embarrassing as having to tell my real estate agent I lost the down payment on my dream home," I said, trying to keep my cool. "Or maybe it's just as embarrassing as finding out my family has been using me like an ATM for years." Mom said through tears, "We never meant to hurt you. It's just that money has been tight since your dad retired at age 56 with no savings." I added, after I told him it was a bad idea. Dad's face turned red. "Now listen here, young lady." "No, you listen," I said, standing up. "For years, I've cleaned up your messes, paid your bills, and kept your secrets. To say thank you, you helped Lauren steal my house, which was the one thing I had been saving for." "But you're so good with money," Lauren cried. "You can save it again." "You're right. I am good with money," I said as I walked toward the door. "That's why I'm cutting you all off for good." "You can't do this to us," my mom yelled, grabbing my arm. I slowly pulled her hand away. Parents are supposed to protect their kids, not use them as a backup bank account. And they shouldn't steal another kid's dreams to pay for their bad behavior. "Jacqueline, please," Dad said, his voice shaking. "Check your mail tomorrow," I said as I opened the door. "The bank is sending official letters about your defaulted accounts. Also, Lauren might want to keep that car in the garage because repo guys work at night." I softly closed the door behind me. Outside, Scott was waiting in his running car. "Are you okay?" "Did you buckle up?" he asked as I did. When I looked up, I saw my mom already on the phone with her sister, probably to ask for money. Frankly, I said, "No, but I will be. It will be the first time in my life that I will be." "They're outside again," Scott said, looking out my apartment window. "Your mom is crying in the car, and Lauren is pressing every buzzer in the building." I didn't look up from my laptop. It's been 4 days, and even the neighbors are getting mad. I got a text message from Lauren saying, "You're destroying this family." Then I heard a voice in the kitchen saying, "They're doing a great job of that all by themselves." It was Helen, my best friend and realtor. She walked over with 4 cups of coffee and said, "The repo guys picked up Lauren's car this morning." As I reached for her phone, I said, "Show me." The video played. Lauren was screaming as 3 quiet men hooked up her red sports car to a tow truck. Mom tried to block the truck with her body, and Dad waved papers at them in a desperate way. "Those papers," I said, watching closely. "Would you like me to keep rewriting the rest of the scene too?" I looked at the papers. The loan papers they signed with my name on them without my permission are probably those. Ellen let out a long whistle. That's no longer just bad luck. That's a crime. The buzzer went off again, and Lauren's voice came over the speaker. "I know you're in there, and you can't ignore us forever." Helen yelled into the speaker. "Listen up, you spoiled brat. Your sister isn't coming to save you anymore. Try getting a job instead of calling a lawyer. You'll need both." Scott almost choked on his coffee. "Wow, Helen. Harsh, but true." She turned back to me. "Also, did you file those identity theft charges?" "I'm going to do it tomorrow morning," I said, opening the files on my laptop. I had the proof ready, proof they used my name to get loans I never approved. The buzzer started again, this time nonstop, and Lawrence's mom's voice joined it. Helen grabbed her purse and said, "That's it. I'm calling the police. This is harassment." "Wait," I said, standing up. "I'll take care of it." My heart was racing, but I took the elevator down, and when I got to the lobby, I saw Lauren's teary face pressed against the glass with her mom behind her. When I opened the door, Lauren screamed, "Do you even know what you've done?" The bank froze everything, and Dad could be charged with fraud. "That's what happens when you forge loan documents," I told her calmly. "We didn't forge anything," Mom said quickly. "We just used your name as a guarantor. You've always helped us." Always helped. I felt something snap inside me. "You mean like when I was 14 and got up at 4 a.m. to tutor Lauren because you couldn't? Or when I worked 2 jobs in college and used my money to pay for Lauren to drop out of 3 schools? That's not fair." Lauren stepped closer. "You're just jealous." I asked. "What are you jealous of?" "That Mom and Dad love you more. They can keep their love. I'm done paying for it." "Please," Mom said, grabbing my hand. "We can fix this. Just tell the bank it was all a mistake." I pulled my hand away. "Like when I was 11 and you stole my grandmother's birthday money to pay for Lauren's dance lessons, or when Dad borrowed my credit card for her spring break trip last Christmas." Mom tried to explain, but I said, "No," as if they were just practice runs. "You've been testing my limits my whole life, seeing how much I'd give before I finally broke. Well, you did it." "I'm done," she said, making Lauren's face fall. "But you're my sister. You're supposed to protect me. I did protect you for 31 years. No longer did I shield you from the real world." A police car pulled up next to Helen, and the officer walked over to me and said, "Mississippi." He then said, "We got a call about harassment." "That's them," Helen pointed out. "They've been bothering my friend for days." Mom's face turned pale. "Jacqueline, you wouldn't?" "I would," I said, walking back into the building. "And if you come here again, I'll add it to the identity theft charges I'm filing tomorrow." The officer's face turned serious. "Ma'am, I need both of you to step away from the building." I watched as the officer led them to their car through the lobby windows. Mom didn't look back at all. Upstairs, Scott and Helen were waiting with fresh coffee and worried looks. "They're gone," I said as I sat down on the couch. "Maybe not forever, but at least for now." Helen sat down next to me and said, "You know what? Living well is the best way to get back at someone." "I thought so," she said with a smile. "Nope. You're buying your dream house, only bigger and better. Also, guess what? You no longer have to pay for people, so I just found one that fits your price." I smiled for the first time in days. "Show me," Scott told her. "You won't believe this." A soft blue light from his laptop shone across the kitchen table. Something was there when I checked those old shared accounts. It was after midnight. We had spent hours going through business papers. There were many empty food boxes on the table. Proof that we did our little study. Look at these transfers, Scott said as I leaned over his shoulder. Small amounts of money have been moving from your savings account to an account I've never seen before every month for the past 4 years. They did it through that old joint account you opened with your mom in college that you forgot about, I said. That's not possible. I kept a close eye on my accounts. They've been using it like a secret tunnel. He quickly typed. My phone rang, and it was another message from Lauren. Dad is having chest pains because of you. Hope you're happy. Scott told her not to answer, keeping his eyes on the screen. Wait, look at this. He pulled up a web of money transfers, with lines that went from my accounts to different places and always ended up in Lauren's pocket or paying off my parents' credit cards. Scott whispered, $400,000. That's how much they've taken over the years. My head spun, and I grabbed the counter to keep from falling. That can't be, I said. The numbers don't lie, he said, showing me more files. And there's something else. Your name is on Lauren's car loan. You're listed as a co-signer. I never signed anything, I said. Then we have them. This is real fraud, Scott said, grabbing his phone. Suddenly, the door slammed, and I looked through the peephole to see Helen standing there with a big package. You need to see this, she yelled as she rushed in. I was looking at the property records for that house. What did we find when we looked it up? She told me, your parents put you on their condo refinance last week as a guarantor. What? I took the papers from her and saw that my signature was on them, but it was clearly fake. They're getting desperate, Scott said. The banks are closing in, and they're using your name to stay above water. Just then, my phone rang. It was my boss, Justin, calling at midnight. Jacqueline, his voice was serious. He was calling to tell me that your sister applied for a job here and used me as a reference. However, her application has some problems. What kinds of problems? She says she has a degree in finance and 4 years of experience. I laughed dryly because I thought she had dropped out after 1 semester. Justin said, shuffling papers in the background, Jacqueline, if she's lying, we need to handle it carefully. I straightened up. Justin, I need to tell you something about my family. 20 minutes later, I hung up the phone. Scott and Helen looked at me while I waited. Well, Helen asked, Justin's reporting her for lying on the application. Well, I said, sinking into the chair, and he gave me tomorrow off to file the police reports. Good, Scott said, spinning his laptop around, because there's more. Remember that private school Lauren went to for her senior year? The one that said they waived her tuition? I nodded. They didn't. Your parents used your name as a guarantor again, and you've been paying for it by having money taken out of your account automatically for 7 years. This made me angry, which is why they told me to keep the joint account open. They said it was only for emergencies. This was an emergency because of their way of life and Lauren not being able to do anything. My phone rang again. Please, Jacqueline. If you ever loved us, don't answer, Helen said, taking my phone. They're trying to pull you back in again. I know, I said, pacing. But what if he really is sick? Scott told him straight out. That's their problem. They've known what they wanted to do for years. Another message appeared, this time from Lauren. If anything happens to Dad, it's your fault. I'll never forget what you did. She gave me the phone, and I quickly typed back. Things that happened to Dad are due to the decisions you all made. Now there are choices that have real effects. What are you going to do? Helen asked kind of. I looked at the files that were piled up on the table. Proof of money scams, fake loans, and fake agreements for years. It's all in black and white. I picked up the phone and said, I'm going to do what I should have done a long time ago. Then I'm going to call the cops. I'm calling each bank. With my name on it, they lied. Scott said in a low voice, they're your family. I said, no, they were. This isn't how real families act, though. I'm going right now. I said while calling, they're not just family. They are bad people who happen to have my DNA. And they should know that fate has a badge. Everything in the police station looked cold and white because of the bright lights. Detective Victoria set the papers out on her desk and looked at each one with raised eyes. She looked at me and said, this is a lot. You say this has been going on for years. I told her as I gave her another box. I didn't know how long until yesterday. Now look at these loan papers that have my fake name on them. I didn't sign any of them. And your mom, dad, and sister did this? She asked. I said yes. This time, my voice didn't shake. They got loans, credit cards, and even a car loan in my name. The agent took notes with a serious face. She said this was a big scam. These charges can't be dropped once they're put forward. Do you really want to do this? My phone rang again. This is another message from Lauren. Dad is leaving the hospital. Thank you, not at all. Mom is crying all the time. Kindness, how can you be so cold? The police officer saw the text. That's why I'm sure they're still trying to make me feel bad. She gave a nice nod. It's sad that I see this more often than you might think. Abuse of family money is a real thing. The door opened right then. Justin, my boss, came in with a big manila envelope. He said, "Sorry I'm late." And then he sat down. I did bring something important, though. He told the officer he had more papers on his desk. Lauren's fake job application was just the start of things. There were loan applications, job applications, and school records that all used my name as a reference or cosigner and had false information on them. Justin, she's been looking for jobs all over the city. She has been saying that you'll confirm her fake schooling and work experience. Some businesses have already started to look into it. The writing on Detective Victoria's desk got faster. These make everything different. We are now looking at several cases of scam, identity theft, and misuse of money. The phone rang again. It was Mom, and the cop said yes. Go ahead and put it on speaker, I told her. Jacqueline, please. Mom's voice sounded scared and weak. The bank says they might file charges against her dad. They say it's loan fraud. Please help us, I told my mom. I can't anymore. She cried. But we're family. After everything you've done for us, we didn't mean to hurt you. We just needed help, and you're so good with money. I laughed bitterly. You mean stealing my identity, fake my signature, and draining my accounts? The detective spoke clearly and cut in. Matau. She said, "This is Detective Victoria from the Financial Crimes Unit. Please silence yourself and call a lawyer right away." The line stopped working. As the officer put the papers together, she said, "Well, that should make them think. Let's start going through everything right away. With this much proof, we should have arrest warrants by morning." Arrest warrants? This made my stomach turn. "They are going to be arrested," she said. "This is felony fraud," Justin said in a soft voice. "What did you think would happen?" they asked. Before I could answer, Lauren sent me a message on my phone. "What did you do? Mom and Dad are being called by the cops. I can't believe you would lie to us like this. I don't see you anymore." The last message had a picture of us when we were kids. I am helping Lauren with her homework. We were both happy. She wrote under the picture, "Remember when you were a good sister? This is what they do." I told Detective Victoria while holding up the phone. Feelings of guilt. They keep taking. They make you feel bad when you stand up for yourself. It's tricking them. She said yes. "Do you also want to file a harassment charge?" I was shocked at how sure I sounded when I said yes. I would, yes. Justin lightly squeezed my shoulder. "That is the right thing to do. They shouldn't get away with it." "I know," I said as I got up and put my things away. "It hurts too much, I'm sorry." Police Officer Victoria said one more thing as I got to the door. "Please keep any emails, texts, calls, or notes that come your way. It's important for the case." "They're not going to stop, are they?" I asked. She gave me her card and said, "Not until they're forced to. Then you can get a protection order." The sun was coming up outside the police station. My phone rang again. One more text from Dad. "There are cops here. Why would you hurt your own parents like this?" I typed back the same way you did with your daughter. "Sign each page one at a time." After that, I stopped all of their calls. Justin stood by his car, ready to take me to work. "Are you ready?" he asked. I turned around and looked back at the police station. It's likely that Detective Victoria was already getting the papers ready. My family would quickly learn that karma doesn't just knock. It might show up with handcuffs and a badge on. I did say, getting into the car, I'm ready. Helen dropped a local newspaper on my desk and said, they were arrested this morning. In the lead, it said that a local family was charged with identity theft. I moved the paper out of the way. I don't want to see it. She pointed to the piece and said, you need to. Their plans to change the story have already begun. In an interview, your mom said that you're crazy and don't know what it means to take care of your family. Scott said as he walked into my office, that's a classic narcissist move. When they get caught, they try to make the person look crazy. The phone in my office lit up again. Another call from a number I don't know. He said that they've been trying all week to get around your blocks. Pay attention. The phone is now on speaker. Hey there, Jacqueline. It was my Aunt Christina. Why would you hurt your own parents like this? They're very sad. Lauren has a bad name now. Their good name. I didn't raise my voice. Are you talking about the one where they stole a lot of money from me? What did they do to fake my signature? Where did they do very bad things? She said they were family. Everyone in the family helps each other. Really? I said as I looked through the files on my desk. This is proof that they also used your name. Do you want to know how much debt they put on your name? The lines went dead all of a sudden. Boom. Helen made a face. That made her quiet down. Police Officer Victoria sent me a message through my email. I believed you needed to see this. A picture of Lauren's most recent social media post was sent along. My sister ruined our family because she wants to be successful like I am. She wants to put our parents in jail now. Please spread the word about our GoFundMe to help pay for it.
No, she didn't.
Helen said as she took out her phone. I'm going to report that event for fraud. Scott told her as he typed on his laptop. Don't worry about it. I did it already. I also sent the prosecutor photos. In court, they say they're broke while online they beg for money. The phone at my desk rang again. It was Justin. Janie, please come to my office. You need to see this. When I got there, Justin's desk was full of more papers. He said that your sister had been busy. 7 different banks turned her down when she tried to open a credit card account. She used your job title as proof. When that didn't work, she called our business. What is she? I was shocked. He gave me a letter and said, it gets worse. She put in an application for a job at our biggest rival. She said she was a junior analyst here and used you again as a reference. I grabbed my phone and said, I'll add it to the list of fraud charges. He smiled and said, no need. I did it already. He sat back down in his chair. That's not the only reason I called you in, though. The board watched how you dealt with everything and was amazed. You're being offered a raise. Senior expert of risks. I opened my eyes. What? You were brave enough to report theft in your own family. In risk management, we need people like you to be honest like that. Ellen and Scott were waiting for me in my office. She asked with wide eyes. Well, I was given a raise. She cheered and gave me a hug. I told you that karma can go both ways. My phone rang right then. It was an email from the lawyer for my parents. They want you to write a letter to the judge asking for a lighter sentence because they are ready to take a plea deal. Scott told me right away to delete it. As I typed, I said, no. To Mr. Gregory, my parents and sister lied about their income for a long time. That person took my name and several $100,000. They didn't feel bad about what they did until they were caught. They're still trying to change the story so that I am the bad guy. I'm not going to write a letter to ask for a lighter punishment. I'll send a victim statement instead, which will list all the times they faked my signature, stole money, and tried to ruin my name when I finally stood up for myself. They'd like to mess around with the law. Okay, let's play. Helen read over my shoulder and said, regards, Jacqueline Savage. I said no and hit send. Being honest. After a short time, Detective Victoria's message rang on my phone. The bank just took back your parents' house. Next week, they will be kicked out. It made me remember all the Thursdays we spent at that house as I stared at the screen. Every meal, vacation, and birthday was a lie, and it was paid for with stolen money and lies. Are you okay? Scott asked in a soft voice. I said I was going to look out the office window. I could see the whole city below me. Somewhere, for the first time in their lives, my family was finally having to deal with real risks.
What's funny about that?
They always called me the responsible, dull, and needy one who had to make everyone else shine, I said. I got the raise, have good credit, and don't feel bad about what I did. I went back to my desk. They can keep up their trouble. I need to get some work done. Helen opened her tablet and said, talking about work. A house was just put on the market. It's great for a senior risk analyst who was just promoted. I smiled. Show me. The courtroom was smaller than I thought it would be. In their dress clothes, my parents sat at the defendant's table and looked very tired. Lawrence slouched behind them in the hall and glared at me as if she could burn me alive. All rise, Jonathan asked. Detective Victoria gave me a light squeeze on the hand as I stood up. She asked, "Are you ready?" I agreed and held on to my 4-page victim impact statement, which I had written over the course of several weeks. Every word brought back years of pain I had tried to hide. It was the state versus April and Walter Maddow, the judge said. But before he could say anything else, there was a noise at the jail door. The lawyer for my parents rushed in and spoke to them in a whisper. Mom's face fell apart. Dad bowed his head. "Your Honor," their lawyer stood up and said, "my clients want to change their plea. They really do want to plead guilty to all charges," she said. Lauren let out a gasp in the back. "No, Mom and Dad," they said. The judge looked at them through his glasses. "You know that this means there will be no trial and no chance to protect yourselves." Dad slowly agreed. "We get it." "Very well," the judge said as he shuffled some papers before giving the sentence. "We will hear what the victim has to say."
Miss Maddow.
I got up and walked to the front of the courtship. The sound of my shoes hitting the marble floor was loud. I stood tall, even though my hands were shaking a bit. I began with "Your Honor. I've been trying for weeks to figure out how much my family cost me. Every dollar they stole, every fake loan they took out, and every account they opened in my name. But it's harder to figure out how much it really cost." My mom began to cry, but I didn't stop. "How do you measure how bad it hurts to be betrayed? Find out that every time your parents said, 'I love you,' they really meant, 'I love what I can take from you.' How do you explain that?" "It's not true." Lauren stood up all of a sudden. "Miss," the judge said sternly, "sit down or be removed." I turned around to face my family. "Not true. You always said family means giving up everything for each other. Find someone who is easy to take from and won't fight back."
That's what you taught me about family.
"Jacqueline, please," Mom said, putting out her hand. "We can still fix this."
No, Mom, irraplia.
"We can't because you don't feel bad about what you did. You're just sorry you were caught." The judge shook his head. "Because they said they were guilty and the acts are so bad, I'm ready to give the sentence." "Hold on." Dad got up. "Thank you very much. It was for our girl." "Which one?" And I asked softly, "Who did you give everything to, or who did you take everything from?" The judge slammed his gavel down. "Please sit down, Mr. Maddow. Because of how bad this was and how long it went on, I gave you both 6 years in state jail, with the possibility of parole after 3. You must also give back everything you took." Lauren began to cry out loud. The woman yelled at me, "This is all your fault. I hate you, Miss Maddow." The judge looked at her and said, "You have your own trial next week for fraud and identity theft. Save your yelling for then." Reporters with cameras and mics waited outside the courtroom. Helen and Scott stood next to me like they were private eyes. Someone from the news media asked Miss Maddow, "How does it feel to send your parents to prison?" "I didn't send them anywhere," I told them in a calm voice. Mom called out, "Jacqueline," as the police walked them past me. "We did all of this for you kids." I told her, "No, Mom, that's not the same. Dad wouldn't even look at me. You did it to us." Lauren tried to attack me, but their lawyer stopped her. "You're dead to me," she yelled. "Funny," I said, "because I've never felt more alive." Detective Victoria came over with a small security team and told me to leave because your sister is becoming unstable. Scott opened the door to my car in the parking lot. When he asked if I wanted to get a drink, I pulled out my phone and showed him an email. I had to go to a house closing. Helen's face lit up. "That's the one we saw last week." I smiled. It looks like fate is on my side because my parents lose their house on the same day I buy mine. Jacqueline. Lauren yelled from across the parking lot. She got away from their lawyer and said, "You can't do this. Where are mom and dad supposed to live when they get out? Not my problem." I called back and told her to stop asking for help and get a job. I heard Walmart was hiring. As we drove away, I looked back and saw that the police were loading my parents into the prison van. Lauren stood alone on the courthouse steps, crying and yelling into her phone, her mascara running. Scott asked softly, "Are you okay?" I thought about the house that was waiting for me, my new job, and my freedom. "You know what?" I asked with a smile. "For the first time in my life." "I really am," he replied. "We have to get to the house closing." "Are you ready to start your new life?" I asked. "More than ready. Let's go home." "Last box," Scott said, putting it in my new kitchen. The big windows let in lots of light, which lit up the granite countertops I fell in love with on the tour. "I still can't believe this is mine," I said, running my hand over the smooth surface. "All mine." "Believe it," Helen yelled as she walked in with a bottle of champagne. "This is reason to celebrate. First night in your new home." My phone buzzed with a news alert. Lauren's court sentence had just been released, so I clicked on the link. A 25-year-old woman from the area was sentenced today for identity theft and several counts of fraud. Helen gently took my phone and said, "Don't. This was your chance to end the family drama."
Just then, the doorbell rang.
It was Detective Victoria, who came in with a folder. "Sorry to interrupt your moving day," she said as she walked in, "but I thought you'd want to see this. Your parents tried to file an appeal." I sighed. Of course they did. She then gave me the folder and said, "Let me guess. They said they were only trying to help their kids." "Yep," she said with a smirk. "They blamed you. They said you gave them permission for everything." I laughed.
"Of course they did," she said.
The judge didn't believe a word of it. Scott called from across the room. He opened up my laptop and showed me a social media post from one of my cousins. "Family isn't family anymore. Jacqueline put her parents in jail, and now she's living big in a fancy house she bought with blood money. Karma is coming for her." Blood money. I laughed. They meant the money I saved, the money they didn't steal. Helen shook her fist at the keyboard and asked, "Want me to answer?" I replied, "No need." Opening a box. "Let them enjoy their drama. I've got better things to do," Helen said, pulling out a design magazine. "Like planning your housewarming party." The doorbell rang again. After a short pause, Justin spoke up. "Hope I'm not interrupting," he said. "I brought a housewarming gift and some news." "Good or bad?" I asked. He smiled and said, "Depends. How do you feel about speaking at next month's Financial Security Conference? The board thinks your story could help people spot family financial abuse." I thought about it for a moment. I agreed, because so many people were in similar situations and felt trapped, afraid, or guilty. Someone had to show them the way out, I said. "Perfect," he said, handing me an envelope. "Here's your new contract with the raise we talked about." My phone rang again, but this time it was an unknown number. It was Jacqueline. Mom's voice was weak and shaky. "Please don't hang up."
"I just need you to know," she said. "I'm sorry."
"Are you sorry for what you did or sorry because you got caught?" Silence. "That's what I thought. Goodbye, Mom."
"Wait."
"Your dad, and I will have nowhere to go when we get out." "You're right. Lauren can't help us because you taught her that it's easier to take than to work for something." I looked around my new kitchen, where my friends were opening wine and unpacking boxes. "But you taught me something too," I said. "You taught me exactly who not to be." I hung up before she could say anything else. "Are you okay?"
Scott asked softly.
I took wine glasses out of a box and said, "Better than okay." I was free,